emotional granularity and regulation. So, identifying my feelings with precision. Emotional granulation is the ability to distinguish between similar emotions with precision. For example, I may start off saying I'm frustrated, but maybe I'm actually irritated. I might actually even be resentful. It is moving from I'm upset to I feel disappointed, overlooked, and tired. Higher granularity equals clearer self-understanding. God invites us into truth and not vagueness. Go back to the okay, go to the next one. Okay. So just stay on this one for a little bit. Why does granularity even matter? Because the brain regulates better when it knows exactly what it's dealing with. Do you know that your brain cannot distinguish between emotional pain versus physical pain? It just says pain, I hurt. So the brain does not make the distinction. You know what does make that distinction? Your heart. So when I work with individuals in therapy, one of the things that I am trying to do is trying to get heart and brain to be in unison with one another. Because your brain can tell you all the reasons why, and your brain has good reasoning, so it knows all the good reasons, but your heart, if your heart is broken, if it's shattered, if it's angry, if it feels betrayed, if it feels abandoned, it will not do. The brain and the heart, the heart is like, no, we're not doing that. And the brain is like, yeah, but we should. Nope, we ain't doing that. Because remember the last time we did this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and they left you. And you see, this is just another reason why we can't trust nobody, because this is how people treat you when you do this. People just take advantage of your kindness. So one of the things I really work hard to do is develop congruence between the heart and the brain. That's not always an easy thing to do. In Scripture, congruence is oneness. Christ, the Holy Spirit, and the Father are one. When my body, soul, and spirit is in oneness and in union with God, there's so much more that I can accomplish. So, in high granularity, as you can see on the slide, I am able to clearly identify emotion. And that means I am better able to regulate my emotion. Because if I'm suppressing, like Rachel said, well, I told you I was okay, but the truth is I just got a phone call from my kid at school and they want to come home and I can't leave. I ain't got nobody to pick them up. I got to stay here at work. I ain't got nobody going to give me another paycheck. If I leave my session, I don't get paid for my session. Well, Mama, I don't have that. In fact, I've had my children call me in session and I only answer it because I don't know whether it's an emergency or not. And they have agitated the pants off me because I'm like, I'm in session with a client. Is this an emergency or not? You know. And Jonathan, my youngest boy, he is real good to go to the nurse's station and have the nurse call me while I'm in session. Hello. You know. When my granularity is low, when I am not able to clearly identify my emotion, I flood. So here's the typical day. I'm all right. Melissa, you look tired. No, I'm good. You sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. So by the time I get home and my husband wants to have all this long conversation that my husband tends to want to have sometimes, I don't have capacity for that anymore. So he has learned to ask me, hey, how you doing? I want to talk. Are you good? Do you have capacity for that? Because at the end of a day, at the end of whatever this is, I no longer have capacity. If I'm lying about how I feel, then I cannot import capacity. You have to have capacity. That's what high granularity does. It gives you capacity to be able to identify the emotions that you feel. Remember, if you can name it, you can heal it. Go ahead to the next one. It improves regulation, and regulation is so important. It's the ability to manage emotional energy in a way that honors God, yourself, and others. It is not suppression, it's not pretending, it's not being strong. It is staying grounded, present, and wise. Go back to the other one. When someone says, I feel disrespected, that is actionable. What does that mean, actionable? What it means is a word like disrespected is like a signal word. If I hear a signal word like I feel disrespected, me as a therapist, I'm curious. Like, why do you feel disrespected? Most people will not hear that with curiosity. They're going to hear that as a conclusion. It tells me something specific has happened in an interaction that violated a person's sense of dignity, worth, and boundaries. Because it points to something, a relational rupture, and it being actionable means I can ask clarifying questions like, what do you mean you feel disrespected? Like, can you help me understand that better? And tone is really important. So you can tell me all day you're not offended with me, and yet I can hear it all in your tone. I'm all right. Did I do something? No. Are you sure? Yeah. Or, hey, I needed to talk to you. I was talking to you. Oh, okay. What can I do for you? You know, we use passive-aggressive language and speech to deal with each other. Versus just saying, you know what, you hurt my feelings. Like, you really hurt my feelings. If I have learned how to communicate, I'm going to ask you, like, well, tell me how I did that. Because at the end of the day, reconciliation is what we're supposed to be after. Even reconciling within ourselves, right? So we gotta learn how to treat people. We gotta learn how to give people space. Oh, I'm sorry. We gotta learn how to give people space. We gotta learn how to talk to one another and become safe places. Like, I can tell a person who ain't safe. Oh my gosh. You can hear it. You can hear it in the tone. You can see it in the body language, because your body always speaks to me. But you do have to have discernment, because I can be having my arms crossed, and it does not mean that I don't want you to enter. It may mean that I feel insecure and I don't feel like I can participate with you in something. Like, I may have you somewhere up here that I shouldn't have you at, and I'm actually really personal, because I have people tell me all the time, listen, you're so intimidating looking, and I'm like, okay. So I really took that to heart, like this last year, because I had a really good friend of mine. She's like, I had her write something about me. She's like, she's so unapproachable. And I was like, ooh, damn, stab me in the chest, like punch all the air out of me. And I had to sit with the Lord with that. I really did, because I was like, okay, what made, now I know her and her insecurities. So I had to put my therapist hat on, and I had to say, what is it about my presentation that made her make that comment? Not be angry with her about it, because that's how she felt. I am unapproachable is what she thought about me. So what is it that I need to do to make the adjustment, or do I need to do anything to make the adjustment? And can I be okay with her having maturity. When I can hear your thought, disagree with it, not see nothing in it necessarily, and I decide I'm not going to be offended with you, and we can still maintain relationship together, even though sometimes we at crossroads, that's maturity. I can regulate when I can do that. If the moment I hear an insult or I feel like I'm insulted, I'm not going to be able to regulate, and I'm going to separate myself from you because you're not on my side anymore. You're not really my friend. If you was really my ride or die, you would have done this and said this. We don't define terms in relationships, and we should. I don't know what your definition of loyalty is, and you don't know mine unless I ask you and inquire. So tons of this dysregulation sometimes is a miscommunication, because we just don't know how. So when someone says, I feel disrespected, they could be communicating a boundary has been crossed, there's a specific behavior to explore, there's an unmet need. Sometimes disrespect, and I'm using that as an example, I could have selected any other word or phrase. Sometimes disrespected means I need you to hear what I'm saying. I don't need you to correct me. I need you to sit with me. Can you sit with me? Can you sit with me and just be silent with me? I don't need no advice. I ain't come to you for that. But sometimes you got to clarify in your communication. I didn't come for advice. I just need to talk. Are you okay with that? Can you do that for me? Sometimes we got to ask questions. Maybe there can be opportunity for repair so that I can better regulate. Maybe it opens the door for apology, clarification, resetting expectations, and rebuilding trust. Disrespected is a secondary emotion, and what you find is that I may have an initial, like I tell people with anger. Anger is usually not always anger. What's under the surface is actually the truth. So we have this anger iceberg that we give to clients sometimes. And anger is about this much of the iceberg, and below the waters is where every other emotion is. Embarrassment, abandonment, fear, hungry, jealous. I mean, do you realize that if you don't eat and drink water, you will be dysregulated? Like if you're dehydrated, you cannot regulate your emotions. Do you know if your core strength is not, if you're not strong in the core, you have difficulty regulating emotions? What happens up here in your brain impacts you all over your systems. They're all connected. So we don't really we're thinking, oh, it's just my emotions. No, you got high blood pressure because you're mad all the time. No, you blowing gaskets all over the place. You're so afraid of people that your heart flutters every time you go into Walmart. You can't shop with people because you got social anxiety. No, it's impacting your system. You cannot regulate, but you want to. I'm so depressed, but what it actually is, repressed emotions, pressed down. Can it be clinical? Absolutely. Can it be the result of trauma and all these things? Absolutely. And because no one taught me how to regulate, no one knew how and had language for it, we just move on. We just move on. I remember before I met my husband, I had a guy that I was dating, quote unquote, engaged to. He drowned in the Calcasieu River. My mother did the most she could to help me. She got me to the funeral. She got me home. We never talked about the incident ever again. She remembered him, because you can't forget something like that. There was no space. But I'll never forget, the Lord told me, he was like, look, the night he died, he said, look, I have to talk to you. He said, if you don't make a decision tonight, he said, you're getting ready to go down a path. And he said, it's going to take you a long time to get out of it. He said, so I need you to decide tonight that you're going to follow me and you're going to go my path. It doesn't mean that you won't be depressed or sad. He said, but the other alternative, you're going to be in big darkness for a long, long time. And I'll never forget, Sherilyn, you remember that? I don't know if you remember at Immaculate Heart, Mama and them used to sing this song, "The Lord is my light and my salvation." Yeah. That song came into my spirit that night, and I had not thought about that song in 20 years. That song saved my life. But we don't know how to talk about things because there's no space for it. Go ahead on to the next slide. Why it improved, okay. So the statement, the brain stays in defense mode, has to do with just the defense mechanisms that we put up. I'm going to stay in some of these defense modes are sometimes survival skills, and sometimes we got to let them survival skills go because we're not surviving. We're not supposed to be. A lot of my defense mechanisms are to help me survive, and depending on the trauma that I've experienced in my life, they serve their purpose until they don't serve their purpose. And then they become hindrances for relationships. People wondering why I give the cold shoulder. It's because I don't really know how to talk to people. I want to talk to you, but I don't really know how. Or if I invite you into my space, you will do what every other person has done to me. And I'm just not willing to allow that to happen. It's what Rachel was talking about earlier, when she talks about boundaries. Telling people no is not a bad thing. And not lying about it either. Right. I need a ride to the store. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might, but I don't know if I'm not going to do that for you today. What you mean? You got a car? I do have a car, and it's mine. I would love to be able to help you today. I don't feel like it. Amen. You just stuck up. No, I'm not. I'm tired and I need rest today.
Right. Amen.
Because this person, once you get them in the car, they gonna say, "Ooh, can I go to the grocery store? Ooh, can you take me to pay my bill? Ooh, can you take me over here?" So it ain't just one thing. It's like 10 things. And sometimes it actually may be healthy to tell that person, especially in love, "Hey, you know what I noticed? I noticed that every time you ask for a car ride, it's not just one thing with you. It's like 10 things with you. That's not okay. You asked me for one thing. You overextending it." And sometimes we have to tell folks that, because guess what? If you at the 10th stop with that person, you mad. And then you wonder where your gas money is, but you're not going to ask them for it. Trying to keep the peace. Now, that person got all of their needs met, and you didn't. All you wanted to do was spend 30 minutes with them, and they took up 5 hours of your day. And that happens to us so often because we teach people how to treat us whether we know it or not. When you don't say anything, they are being taught, "Oh, it's okay with her. She okay with that. You ain't okay with that." You are boiling on the inside. Your chest is hurting. You looking at the time. You checking your clock because you had other things to do like be in your bed and rest.
Glory.
Rachel just said, I just graduated. Rachel said, "Melissa, you got a little thug in you." Go ahead on to the next slide. So granularity shifts our emotions from chaos to clarity. Because you see that black and red, that's where we spend a lot of our time sometimes, when we hold on to that stuff and we don't say anything. Now, am I going to shout out my need to the rooftops? No, I'm not going to shout at you or yell at you, because that's the other side. When I cannot emotionally regulate, I'm going to yell at you because I want you to hear me. And then there's this thing called matching energy. which happened this weekend with this past week with my husband. He said something that like threw me off, and it was so funny because, you know, I read people all day long. That's all I do. I'm not just looking at you. I'm not hearing you. I'm looking at your whole body. I'm looking at everything. So he walked in and he had a certain posture about himself, and I'm just waking up, so I'm half asleep, and he looks at a suit that David was supposed to bring back to drop it off because he had rented a tux for prom. And he turns around and he says, well, the place closes at 5, and in my brain, I'm stuck in his body posture. Because his body posture was, to me, was saying, David is irresponsible. David just left his suit and he forgot it and he didn't bring it. So that's where I am, okay? So he over here, well, it closed at 5 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, well, the place probably didn't open until 10. He said, well, what they got to do with this? What they got to do? I said, what? And in my mind, I was like, and so I'm like, what you mean? He was like, what they got to do with this? And I was like, I flipped out. Because I was like, I lost my thought, my whole train of thought. And my tone got louder, and then he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, you up here saying it close at 5 o'clock? And so, well, he want to talk about it. I said, no, I got to go take the suit to the clinic. I got to go put it up. So he comes back, and I told him, I said, no, you're saying, what's that got to do with it? He said, I didn't say it like that. I said, yes, you did. And I'm matching your energy. And I tell you, I went through. He said, I didn't even know that was in you. I said, I didn't know it either. But what has happened in our relationship was I've been doing more of this. And sometimes when you do more of it and you say, I don't like what you said. And I've been telling him that, and he's been telling me that. I don't like what you said. He's like, what's wrong? I don't like what you said. And it doesn't take me days to now say, I don't like what you said. I can now say in a matter of about 30 minutes, you know what, I've been thinking about what you said, I don't like it. And this is why I don't like it. Because this is what it sounded like to me. And then we can have a dialogue. But y'all, it took me 20 years to get there. Don't let it take that long for y'all. Took me 20 to 25 years to develop emotional language and understanding where I know what's happening in me, and I can be honest enough with myself and my spouse to say, I don't like that. I felt that when you said this is what you meant. No, that's not what I meant, Mom. Thank you for the clarity. So I can thank him for clarifying what I did not understand. That's communication. So I can better regulate, so I don't do one of the things like I did this past week. Go ahead to the next slide. Regulation defined, let's move through that. It is awareness, naming, understanding, and choosing a response. In my example, my initial response is, I'm going to match energy with you. But that wasn't the right response. And when we came back, calmed down, I was able to apologize. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have had this tone. Because I apologize for tone. When my tone is stank, I apologize for it. Because I understand it also communicates another layer of understanding to the problem. Go ahead on. Proverbs 16:32. Better one to show anger than a warrior. That is biblical language, and it's regulation language. Proverbs 16:32 reminds us that real strength is calm control. It's saying that holding your temper is a deeper power than any battle a warrior fights. What time is it? So I think what I'm going to skip this one, go back. So I think what I'm gonna do now, yes, Joe?
Go back to the warrior.
Oh, go back one more, there you go.
Yeah. My phone won't open. I'm trying. I got it. Go back.
So one of the things I do want to be able to do for you all is to show you some regulation techniques that can sometimes help to develop what we call vagal tone. We didn't get into the vagus system because that's just a whole nother. But one of the things that happens in dysregulation is that your nervous system is now off track. And the more instances you have of dysregulation, your whole system is dysregulated. In an effort to be able to help better, not only with language, but also what is happening. Sometimes we, in therapy, we help people through different techniques that help develop vagal tone. Tapping, just like this, is one of those. We're gonna go through some other ones. Because I find that, like, if you're in a situation where somebody is approaching you and they're like, I don't like what you, I was talking with a teacher. Mila, you're gonna laugh at this one. I've talked with teachers who have co-teachers that they work with, and sometimes, usually, there's two teachers of the, depending on your group, some of them will do lesson planning together. And there's this one particular teacher I work with, I'll never forget her. So it was 4 of them for this first grade classroom, and 3 of them seemed to have been like this. And this person that I was working with was the outsider. And so it would be interesting. I don't know what she did. She don't even know what she did to offend them, but I kind of think she probably didn't know what she did. And so they isolated her away from them, and she would have to go to her administrators to please ask them to include me so that we can all be and have the same lesson plans. And I think about stuff like that. That's something that you're not prepared for the moment it happens. When somebody does something, you thinking, oh, we all good and everything is fine, and then you're not invited to the party. You're not prepared for that. And so some of the interventions that I want to talk with are going to be those things that happen to you in a day you ain't prepared for, and that may help you to regulate the more you practice. Regulation happens the more you practice it. You cannot do it one time and expect all these grand, beautiful results. It's the same thing with prayer and declarations. Nothing happens all of a sudden. It happens through consistency. Consistency. And a lot of times we don't want to do the consistent work. It's like taking every thought captive unto the obedience of Christ. We don't always want to take the thoughts captive because it takes work and we're tired. But that is a commandment. Take every thought captive. Philippians 4:8 is the framework through which we should monitor our thoughts and feelings. If it be true, lovely, of good report, excellent, worthy of praise, that's the stuff we're supposed to be thinking. So I need to be using Philippians 8 as my framework. Is that thought that I'm thinking this? Is her intent really that? You might be discerning right. Her intent may be ill will. But what if it's not? And what if you discern incorrectly because you all jacked up on the inside? Because that happens too. We don't mean to do that, but we do. We will discern through a lens of hurt. All the things. Guilt. We discern through a lens of guilt. Trying to protect others from us or whatever we think we got to do. So, come on up, Rachel.